Can you determine genuine desire by the reaction she gives by receiving gifts for me or from me, expensive or otherwise? I would say less expensive gifts than more expensive gifts. Only because it goes back to the burden of performance, the burden of romanticism that is placed on men. And why am I saying that? Well, because being romantic, like it's always like this prerequisite for men to be romantic. Got to keep it fresh, bro. What do you do to keep it fresh? Nothing. I do nothing. Oh, I'm me. What's not to love, man? No, I'll tell you, it's not that I wouldn't make an effort or anything like that. The thing is that it's romance is not something you plan. It's not. A guy being romantic usually doesn't even know he's being romantic. He's like completely oblivious to it. So that's why I say, like, the guy who makes a ring out of a gum wrapper, you got to learn how to do this, guys. You got to figure out how to make a ring you could do it. It's like origami, right? You have to learn how to make a ring out of a gum wrapper, and you give that to her and say, someday we're going to be married. Oh, I kept that ring. It's in my jewelry box. I still have it today. I don't know what happened to that guy, right? That level of it's a worthless gum wrapper, right? But she's still in her fucking jewelry box, and it's from a guy that you didn't even know his name from like when she was like 14. Okay, it's the guys who make romantic gestures aren't doing it because they're trying to. Romance is never contrived. Okay, trust me on this. You will have better sex and have a more meaningful experience with a chick that you just broke up with and you're having makeup sex with than any like date night you could come up with, right? Hey guys, I'm gonna go sprinkle rose petals all over the honeymoon suite, and we got a jacuzzi suite at the Palms, and man, we're gonna have a steak dinner. Oh man, we're gonna take the kids to her sisters. We're gonna fuck. Oh man, I got this cheap Walmart lingerie for her. Like all this shit, you make all this. Michael say this all the time. Like women think that like romance happens like just spontaneously, where the guy is like he's setting like the humidity in the room and the barometric pressure and like the Venus aligns with Pluto. It's just like all this shit, down to the most minute detail, and she thinks it's just it's just magic. It's holiday magic, right? No. Like guys will become fucking romance scientists to make that shit happen, and women just think it just happened. No, because guys are basically, the guys who do that are trying to recreate something that happened that is just complete spontaneity and just like serendipity, right? I mean, it's just something that happened. And like people always say, "Oh, be a Skittles man." Does anybody remember? Do you know what being a Skittles man is? Probably not. No. There was a story a long time ago in a blogosphere far, far away. There was a blogger by the name of Royce, and Royce related this one story on his blog. It was called Royce in DC then. It wasn't even Chateau Artiste then. It was like so early. But the Skittles man or the Skittles guy is he had actually he was trying to diffuse a situation between two chicks he was fucking at the same time, and they found out about each other. And the dude was just so fucking alpha that he was giving gifts, to one, and it was never anything more than candy, And so that one of the times he gave as a birthday present to one of his girls a bag of Skittles. That's all. Not a fucking, Louis Vuitton fucking bag or whatever the fuck. No, nothing super expensive, nothing like that. A bag of Skittles, and the chick just like went and fought the other girl because of that bag of Skittles, right? Because she thought that he had that much more love for her because she got the bag of Skittles, right? And it was like, what's a bag of Skittles cost you? Like $2, $3 today? That was it. That's why you're the guy that is so desirable that you can give a woman a bag of Skittles, and it is the most romantic gesture that you could possibly do. Or that, like I said, the gum wrapper ring, So when you're talking about romance, when you're talking about doing something special, giving gifts, giving compliments, give her a car, do this, get her flowers, blah, blah, blah. like that stuff. Like, I'm not saying don't give your girl flowers. Like, by the way, I think that like gifts, especially flowers, and compliments, should be reinforcement of desired behavior. And I know that sounds really mercenary. I realize how mercenary that sounds, but like, if you're going to give a woman flowers, it shouldn't be just spontaneously. It should be for desired behavior. It's operant conditioning. And people fucking Alex from Date Psych is like, oh, Rollo is a behavioral psychologist. He doesn't know anything about evolutionary psychology. I said, yeah, but I majored in behavioral psychology because that's the only thing that was available at the school I was going to at that time. Since then, I have actually studied, evolutionary psychology for a long time. But that doesn't mean that behaviorism doesn't apply to a lot of shit that goes off in intersexual dynamics, right? Such as operant conditioning. Operant conditioning being that you're rewarding an animal for desired behavior. You could talk all you want about B.F. Skinner and the blank slate and everything else. Okay, I could talk your ear off about that. That's what I went to school for. But the long and the short of it is that operant conditioning still fucking works. If it didn't work, you wouldn't be addicted to scrolling through. Keep going. People wouldn't be gambling addictions, all that other shit. It's behaviorism. It's still founded on what's the behavior, what's the reward, what's the punishment, what's the negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement. Still works. So if it didn't, you wouldn't be able to go see Shamu at fucking SeaWorld, go jump and snatch a fish out of the lady's hand and probably tear her arm off. Yeah, trust me, behaviorism to a degree works. Yes, it might not be founded on what it used to be, but yeah. But that's really the principle behind like giving gifts and giving compliments and stuff like that. It's like you give compliments when you want to desire behavior. That's why, like, you don't want, like, I think this is pretty much standard, is you don't want to give too much compliments or too much gifts or whatever, because frequency and commonness makes the value go down. Right? That's a pretty basic principle. That's behaviorism. That's pretty much a basic principle of behaviorism. If a reward is too easily gotten, then it's not going to develop and model behavior. Because if I can get it, I can get it. If I can't, then I'll do certain things. I'll make behavior. Like if you put a rat in a Skinner box, right? Or if you put a rat in a box and you make it like press a lever to get a pellet of food, and it's constantly coming out, and it's like regular reward. It hits the lever, out comes a pellet. Now, if you stop giving it every third lever press, then it pops out, right? Well, what's the rat going to learn? He's going to learn how to 1, 2, 3. It comes out, right? Now, if you go 1, 2, and it comes out, and then you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it comes out, and it's intermittent reward. That's what women do with sex for men. That's what it is. It's like you never know when you're going to get it, but it's basically a reward for desired behavior. So what I've always advocated for is just use the same game back on women. That's the same thing. What's a reward for a woman? Like, have you heard these? Like, some guys will do this. Like, they'll use this as a stupid example. I'm not sure how realistic this is, but like they'll say something like, well, my wife really turned me on. She wore this really nice lingerie and she really wanted to, and then at the last minute, she's like, nah, not really feeling it. And then you're stuck there with your hand and you got blue balls, yeah. Right? Like that kind of stuff. Okay. So then where they say, well, what you should do is you should take her to the mall and say, yeah, honey, you can charge up, get this Louis Vuitton bag and whatever you want. You got to get up to the cashier and you go, nah, not really feeling it anymore. And like that's the flip side of it, right? Like that's the operant conditioning equivalent of intermittent reward and punishment for undesired behavior, right? Does it still exist? Yes, it does. You just have to look for it, right? So that's like when you give this is old school game stuff. Like if you're going to give a woman compliments, you don't give it to her, oh, baby, you're so hot. Like Mike will say this all the time, man, don't like women's photos just because they're showing an ass, right? If a woman earns her master's degree in astrophysics, yeah, then you like that because it's something that's concrete, right?
Mhm.
But if it's a chick that's just like showing off her latest, Honey Burdette G-string, you don't give her a fucking like for that, right? Because all you're doing is giving her positive reinforcement, and you're not the guy that's going to let the simps do that.
Mhm.
Simps do that. Men do not. Like guys who are, ladies, if a guy is interested in you, he's probably not liking your pictures. And if he is, he's probably not the guy that you would break rules for to get with. So